Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Ninja Bunny Crafting. Today, what we're going to talk about is one of the best pieces of scatter terrain for your dungeon tiles, city tiles, any tile. Stone pillars. These guys, awesome, quick and easy to build. And why is it nice to have these guys? Gives enemy cover, gives players cover, adds to the theater of the mind that you're creating when you make these dungeon tiles. So, without any further ado, let's bust into starting this construction build.
Alright guys, as always we're going to start this project out like we do with most of the projects that involve foam, with a piece of pink styrofoam board insulation. This particular piece is actually already 1 inch thick, and I got this at a big box store called Menards. Cost me about $9 to get a 2 foot by 2 foot piece. Now, I'm using a hot wire cutter table, as you guys can see, to do my cuts. We're going to make them 3 inches long and 1 inch thick. This is going to give us a nice pillar to set down on our dungeon tiles. Now, you can use whatever you need to cut. As always, I've got my hot wire cutter table here, but if you need to use a kitchen knife, a razor knife, if you need a dog with a really sharp set of claws to do this for you, you do what you need to get this stuff cut. Now, as you're going along, if you are using a hot wire cutter table or a hot wire cutter, as always, do it in a well-ventilated room or with a mask on. I myself am in a well-ventilated room right now, so I don't need the mask. Because honestly, if I wasn't, the fumes do give me a headache. No way around it. So, as you start to cut these guys up, remember, you do, again, want to keep it about 3 inches long and 1 inch thick. Once you've got it all cut up, you're going to grab a knife, whatever you can here, and you're just going to give every piece a score. I'm going roughly at about a 1/4 inch gap between each scoring, going right across the pillar here because I'm starting the layout for the brickwork. I kind of liked to have bricks, but if you don't, you could take a really sharp pencil and just draw circles and make cyclopean style pillars. But I like bricks, so I'm going bricks. Now, once you've got all of your lines scored here, and I'm taking my time using a razor knife to do my scoring, if you've got a really good steady hand, you could take a hot wire cutter or hot wire cutter table and just gently touch the foam with it, and it'll actually score it and give you like a nice straight line for the mortar grouts. However, I tend to screw that up, so I don't do that. As you can see here, I was using the razor knife, but I am pressed for time, and I realized that my putty knife that I used to scrape the plate of my 3D printer was right there after having printed out some mangrove tree minis, and I'm like, let's give this a shot. So I grabbed it and gave it a shot, and to be fair, it did the job quickly. It helped me get this video done on time so I could get here to this process of telling you folks about it much sooner. So, as you can see, I'm pressing down and I'm giving a nice score to give a nice wide line there as best I can. And once I've got all 4 sides of the pillar marked up, I'm just going to go back with the razor knife and I'm going to put in some vertical lines. I'm going to go probably again about a 1/4 inch from each side and just put that line straight down to indicate a brick. And I'm going to do that on all the sides, just following the same basic pattern on each side because it is going to give you that brick look, like somebody just laid brick by brick and built this pillar. And by doing it this way, you make sure that it is, so to speak, scatter terrain agnostic. You can use it in a cemetery. You could use this in the dungeon. You could use this on the streets of a city. You could use this in the basement of a mansion or even in a tavern as just a random pillar that's there to help give the players or enemies something that they can get cover from, or to hide something from the player's line of sight if you're one of those kind of tricky, crafty DMs. My hat off to you. So, once you've got all those nice lines and marks made up, you're going to want to grab yourself a sharpened pencil, or in this case I grabbed bamboo skewer, and you're going to want to run through those grout lines. You want to widen them up. You want to give them more room to breathe, because when you paint this and you put your wash on, there's a good probability the paint could goop in there and just hide all that hard work that you did creating this illusion. So once you've got all of your grout lines and mortar areas, whatever word you want to use here, all just widened up with a sharpened pencil, a pen, or in this case, a bamboo skewer. Okay, we're going to move on to, that's right, texturing. See? All right, now how do we texture? Well, we texture always the same way. We grab a tinfoil ball and just start pressing down. If you don't want to use tinfoil again, you can go out to the middle of the road and grab a rock. It'll work just as good, trust me. Speaking of which do you prefer? Leave me a comment down below. Do you like tinfoil ball use for making rock texture, or do you like to go out and get a rock? Trust me, these comments help, and your answers help the algorithm. So, once you've got yourself all textured up like that, nice texturing on this here, we are going to move on to Mod Podge. That's right, it's time to seal this bad boy up, give it a little bit of darkness. Now, I gave this a shot. I have a sponge brush that I was going to use, but the brush was a little too stiff. I don't know if I didn't clean it well enough last time I used it, so I just kind of tossed it to the side there and grabbed my good old-fashioned bristle brush. And I am just, as always, as liberal coating as you can give it. You don't want any pink to show through here. You want this guy to be dark. Dark like night. Dark like Batman's sense of humor. Does Batman have a sense of humor? You ever wonder that? Anyway, leave a comment down below. Do you like Batman? I'm not a big Batman fan, but I don't mind him. I'm more of a Captain America guy myself, or a Conan the Barbarian. I wonder why. Now, as we add our Mod Podge here, just get it. You're going to have to work it into the groove lines a little bit too, because you did make those pretty deep. Or maybe you didn't. I made mine deep, so I have to work it in there. And once you've got it all set up, we're going to get going. But this time we're not going gray. That's right. We're using terracotta. Why? Because that color is going to offset it in your dungeon. Your dungeon tiles are gray with dry brushed white on there to give them that look of stone. But here, adding this terracotta is going to break that up a little bit. Plus, the terracotta look allows it to be, again, scatter terrain agnostic. You can use this in a city then. You can use it in a basement. You can use it in a tavern. And terracotta paint, pretty easy to get your hands on because it's just regular crafting paint called terracotta. And it gives you that orangish brown look like brick. So as you can see here, I'm getting these three pillars all set up. And to be fair, like, I don't think I was thinking as clearly as I should have when I was doing these guys, because you see me like do one side, then another, then move on. And I really should have just picked them up with my thumb and pointer finger and held the ends of them and just went to town. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's what I'm off camera there doing, is I realized my mistake and was like, oh, hey, let me do this over here. Again, though, not realizing that I've gone off camera. I really do need to set up more cameras around myself while I'm doing these tutorials for you guys. What do you think? Do you think more cameras would benefit you guys? Let me know in the comments below. So, as you can see here, there's that nice terracotta look. And once you've got that dried up from being a fool, do what I'm doing right now at the beginning of your thing, and it won't take you so long. Grab it with your pointer and your thumb. In this case, I'm using my middle finger because, again, my weirdness and my ADHD. And just get that terracotta all over this guy. You want it all over. Top, bottom, sides, everywhere you can get it, and you want a good coating. Can you get away with a medium to light first coat? Yes, you can. It will look more brown than terracotta. If you're okay with that, nothing wrong with it. I personally went with 2 watered down coats here to get myself a little bit more of a red terracotta brick feel to it. So, once you've got yourself terracotted up, we're going to do our next thing. I'm going to grab some suede here. And I am going to just pick out a couple of random bricks. Just random bricks, and we're just going to give them that suede. Now, if you want to do some more here, because this is going to give you that nice breaking up of that monotone color. You could add a dark brown here and just pick out a couple bricks and make them dark brown along with the suede, and it'll give you that kind of really cool real world look. Go look at a real world terracotta brick pillar. You're going to notice that not every brick is that orange terracotta color. They have a little variation in them, and that's what you're going to attempt here by just picking out a few little bricks and painting them that nice suede color. If you don't have suede, don't worry. A light gray will do you just as fine. And just picking them out. You can see me picking out. And the reason you pick out random bricks here or there is because you don't want a pattern to appear. A pattern is really noticeable by the human eye and sometimes can really just distract you, especially if you have severe ADHD like I do. You don't want that pattern. You want that randomization here to kind of duplicate the real world, because things in the real world, they're a little random, right? You ever go down the street and you're looking at somebody's yard and you're like, what the hell? That is so random. And they've got like 20 gnomes running around with a wheelbarrow. Yeah, that's kind of what you're hoping for here. That randomness of the colors. And as you can see here, I'm actually not trying to go for a second paint on the suede. With the terracotta, I went with 2 coats to try and keep it. With this one, because the terracotta's down, I'm doing a little bit of a thicker paint job with the suede. That way it's just a 1 coat done for those little bricks. And honestly, in second thought looking at this, I probably should have shown you guys the dark brown look. But hey, that looks pretty nice. And make sure you do a good look around. You might want to pop a couple more extra ones in. So once we got that all done, folks, you know the next step. We're going to do our dry brushing. So get some white onto a canvas or anything you can and load up your makeup brush or whatever brush you're using for your dry brushing. And as always, wipe off like 99% of that stuff. Now, I had a little bit of an issue here trying to like get the camera to focus in on these guys and hold them still while I did this. Kind of wish I'd have set them down with some sticky tack while I dry brushed here so you guys could get a better view. But again, that's all we're trying for here is the dry brushing to bring out those highlights. Remember, when you're dry brushing, try not to go up and down. Try to go to the sides in circular motions. And it's okay to give it a press and a pull when you need to bring out those details. I am really struggling to keep my pillars on the table here and not send them flying every time I'm doing this. But I'm getting it. Like I said, the great thing about doing these videos with you guys is while I'm teaching you, I'm also teaching myself how to do better videos. Man, I really, really hope I'm getting better at this. In fact, if you wouldn't mind, leave me a comment down below. Let me know how I'm doing. Am I entertaining you while I'm teaching you? Am I showing you these tricks? Am I making sense? I really would like to improve, guys. And again, it does help the algorithm if you give me a comment. So as you can see, I'm just putting the 3 of these guys together and I am hitting it so I can get as much done in one shot as I can. And you can do the same. Again, most of us don't have time to spend a week or 2 making our terrain setting. We've only got a few hours to get it done. We've got that space of time when the kids are still at school before they get home, or that one day off and you're like, I got to get 6 things done. So remember, anything you can do to save time is a most needed thing. Look at that dry brush, man. I'm hitting the tops of these guys real quick because players are going to be looking at the tops. You don't have to hit the tops if you're going theater of the mind, but I like it because I like the continuity and I don't like that break in theater of the mind. And remember, once you finish dry brushing, you're going to have to let this dry. Give it 20, 30 minutes at the minimal. I tend to give everything about an hour to dry, but to be fair, craft paint takes 15 minutes. So, once you've got this beautiful dry brushing done and everything looking pretty and you like the way it looks stacked in front of you, because I do, get out that stone wash we showed you how to make in our Dungeon Stacker episode. Yep, it's time for the drip. The drip, drip, drip. Now, mine's had about a week to sit, so I'm going to stir it up. You should always do the same. Give yourself a stir. If you think that you need a little bit more black paint or brown paint, or you're just like, it's not flowing well enough, do any adjustments you need to. Add a little paint, or in my case, I actually don't need to do anything here except stir it up. But that's because it's the consistency I want. Doesn't mean it'll be the consistency you want. So again, if you've got a big container like I do, just go ahead and dip these guys right in. If you don't, just brush it on. It's okay. Now, as you can see, I'm setting these guys over here on a paper towel, mostly because I don't want that stuff getting all over my work area. I've got some other things off camera on here that I cannot afford to get wet because they're drying from paint. You know how it is. So, as you get these guys dipped in, there are two things that can occur here from the dip. One, everything comes out awesome and looks great. Two, things didn't get quite as dark as you'd hope from the wash. If number two happens to you, let it dry. Give it an hour or more to dry because, again, you are dipping this into a painting water.
And there
then
you
just
have it, folks.
redip it.
Stone pillars.
Give it another
Quick,
dip. See how it
easy, and
looks. If
simple.
everything looks good, you're
And
inside.
I really hope that you enjoyed this. I really hope that this inspired you to go out and make a couple of these guys. Because, well, there's nothing quite like crafting. Remember, from all of us here, please give us a like, a share, a subscribe. Comment down in the video, again, on anything you feel like. If you just want to tell me to go jump off a cliff, leave me a comment, let me know. Thanks, guys. And remember, get out there and get crafting. Have fun.